2 years had passed since humanity severed all links with the galaxy. What had started as a crisis was now becoming a dark age. Admiral Steve Collins had designed the fleet coordination systems for the Kepler Defense Alliance. His algorithms allowed thousands of ships to work together like a single organism, sharing information instantly and responding to threats with perfect timing. Now the Vorlak Empire was invading Alliance space, and the defending fleets could barely function. Without Steve's strategic programs, the ships fought like separate units instead of a coordinated force. Fleet Admiral Targo watched helplessly as his ships were destroyed one by one. The Vorlak forces were not more advanced, but they fought with unity while his fleet struggled with communication delays and tactical confusion. "Request immediate assistance from the Galactic Council," Targo ordered his communications officer. "Sir, the Council no longer has the authority to provide military aid. 3 more member species withdrew this week. The Council exists in name only." Targo felt despair wash over him as another squadron of his ships exploded under Vorlak fire. The Alliance had protected dozens of peaceful worlds for centuries, but without human expertise, their defenses were crumbling. On the agricultural world of Haven, Dr. Lauren Hayes had developed the systems that fed 4 billion beings across 7 star systems. Her crop rotation schedules and soil treatment programs had turned barren worlds into gardens that produced food for half the galaxy. Now those gardens were dying. Agricultural Director Mesa stood in what had once been a vast wheat field and saw only brown stubble stretching to the horizon. The soil treatment facilities were producing chemicals that poisoned the land instead of enriching it. The weather control satellites were creating droughts instead of gentle rains. How long before? Complete crop failure? Mesa asked her chief scientist. 2 months, maybe 3, came the grim reply. Dr. Hayes tried to train us before she left, but we cannot replicate her methods. She understood the delicate balance between soil chemistry, weather patterns, and plant biology. We have the knowledge, but not the wisdom to apply it correctly. Mesa looked at the dead fields and tried to imagine 4 billion people facing starvation. Ships were already arriving to evacuate the most vulnerable populations, but there was nowhere for them to go. Every agricultural world in the galaxy was experiencing similar failures. The final catastrophe came when the Galactic Communication Network collapsed completely. Dr. Peter Morgan had maintained the quantum entanglement systems that allowed instant communication across thousands of light years. The network was humanity's gift to the galaxy, connecting civilizations that had never been able to talk to each other before. Peter had tried to train alien technicians before leaving, but the quantum physics involved were beyond their understanding. The aliens could operate the equipment, but could not maintain the delicate quantum states that made communication possible. Communications Director Voss sat in the central hub on Nexus Prime and watched the last relay stations go dark. One by one, star systems were losing contact with the outside galaxy. Civilizations that had been talking for decades were suddenly alone in the darkness. "Can we restore any of the connections?" Voss asked his technical team. "We have tried everything," replied Chief Technician Kara. "The quantum fields are collapsing faster than we can repair them. Dr. Morgan warned us this would happen, but we thought we understood enough to prevent it." The result was predictable. Without communication, trade collapsed completely. Defensive alliances could not coordinate their forces. Scientific collaboration became impossible. The galaxy was fracturing into isolated islands of civilization. Chairman Vrex made a desperate decision. He abandoned his crystalline body's pride and traveled personally to the edge of human space in a small, unarmed ship. For the first time in galactic history, the chairman of the council came as a beggar rather than a ruler. His ship was intercepted by Admiral Patterson's patrol fleet and escorted to a neutral space station at the border. Vrex waited for hours in a simple meeting room, his crystalline form dim with humiliation. When the holographic projector finally activated, it showed not President Walsh or Ambassador Morrison, but Dr. Peter Morgan himself, the quiet scientist who had built the communication network, looked tired and sad. "Chairman Vrex," Peter said, without emotion, "you wish to speak with a human authority. I will listen to what you have to say." Vrex struggled to find words. 2 years ago, he had treated humans as junior members of the galactic community. Now he was begging one of them for help. "Dr. Morgan, our communication network is failing," he began. "Billions of beings are being cut off from their families and friends. Entire civilizations face isolation and death. Please, help us restore the connections." Peter was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of accumulated frustration and disappointment. "For 20 years I maintained that network," he said. "I worked 18-hour days to keep the quantum field stable. I trained teams of technicians and wrote detailed manuals explaining every procedure. I offered to share the underlying technology so you could improve and expand the system." "Yes, and we are grateful," Vrex said quickly. "Are you?" Peter asked. "Because when the Galactic Council voted to place humans under alien oversight, you voted yes. When they demanded we surrender our technology, you supported them. When they threatened us with military action, you stood by and said nothing." Vrex's crystalline form flickered with shame. "We made mistakes. We let fear guide our decisions instead of wisdom. But surely the suffering of innocent people outweighs our political failures." Peter's image leaned forward, and Vrex could see deep sadness in his human eyes. "I have watched the reports from your space," Peter said. "Children dying of diseases we could cure, families separated by communication failures, entire worlds facing starvation. Do you think this gives me joy? Do you think humans celebrate your suffering?" "Then help us," Vrex pleaded. "Show us the mercy we failed to show you." "Mercy!" Peter's voice grew harder. "For 20 years, humans showed mercy to species that treated us as servants. We fixed your problems, cured your diseases, and prevented your wars. And in return, you demanded we accept permanent inferiority." The conversation continued for hours, but the outcome never changed. Peter explained that humanity was no longer interested in being the galaxy's unpaid servants. If the galaxy wanted human knowledge, it would have to offer genuine partnership and equality. "But our people are dying now," Vrex protested. "We cannot wait for political agreements." "Your people started dying the moment you voted to enslave mine," Peter replied. "The crisis you face is not a natural disaster. It is the logical consequence of driving away the people who kept your civilization functioning." As Vrex's ship departed empty-handed, President Walsh addressed the United Earth Federation Council for what would be her final statement on the galactic crisis. "The galaxy has asked us to return and resume our old role," she announced. "They offer wealth, territory, and promises of better treatment. But they do not offer the one thing we require: respect." The council chamber was packed with representatives who had watched 2 years of reports about alien suffering. Some still believed humanity should help regardless of how they were treated. "The death toll is in the billions now," said Counselor Green from the Europa colonies. "How can we stand by and let this continue?" "Because," Walsh replied, "returning now would teach the galaxy nothing. They would accept our help gratefully, promise to treat us better, and then gradually return to their old attitudes. The cycle would repeat itself within a generation." "So we do nothing?" asked Counselor Davis. "We do what we have always done," Walsh said. "We build, we learn, we grow. But we do it for ourselves and our true friends, not for masters who see us as useful tools." The debate that followed was emotional but brief. The Federation Council voted to maintain the isolation policy by a wide margin. Humanity would continue its journey alone among the stars. In the weeks that followed, reports from alien space grew increasingly desperate. The Thorian homeworld had been abandoned as the plague killed the last survivors. The Zephyrian Empire had collapsed into civil war. The great trade routes were empty except for debris and ghost ships. Some alien species managed to adapt and survive. The peaceful Aquarians, who had always treated humans as equals, received covert assistance from Earth. A few other species that had shown friendship over the years found supplies and technical advice waiting at secret locations. But for the species that had demanded human submission, there was only silence. Ambassador Jake Sullivan sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien faces around the giant table. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, with seats for over 200 different species. Most of them looked down at Jake like he was something they found on their shoe. The Zephyrian Chancellor Vexthol stood up. His blue skin shone under the bright lights, and his 4 arms moved as he talked. "The human request is denied," he said in his high voice. "Earth will not get better trade deals. Earth will not get access to our technology. Earth will pay the new taxes we have decided." Jake felt his hands get tight. For 30 years he had been coming to these meetings. For 30 years he had asked for fair treatment. The aliens always said no. They treated humans like children who should be happy just to be allowed in the room. "Chancellor," Jake said, standing up slowly, "we are not asking for gifts. We want to trade as equals. We want the same rights as other species." The Chancellor made a sound like laughing, but it was not funny. "Humans are a young species. You have been in space for less than 100 years. The Zephyrians have traveled the stars for 10,000 years. You should learn your place." Other aliens around the table made agreeing sounds. The Krill delegate hissed through his sharp teeth. The Vorthon representative clicked her claws on the table. They all thought humans were weak and stupid. Jake looked at the data pad in his hands. On it were reports from human colonies that the Council had attacked last month. 3 ships full of families trying to start new lives. The Council said the humans were in space that belonged to other species. They took the ships and put the people in prison camps. "What about our colony ships?" Jake asked. "What about the families you took?" "Those humans were in restricted space," the Chancellor said. "They broke our laws. They stay in prison until Earth pays the fine." "How much is the fine?" 5 million tons of rare metals and 100,000 human workers for our mining. Worlds. The room got very quiet. Jake felt something break inside his chest. They wanted humans to be slaves. After all these years of trying to be peaceful, the aliens still saw humans as things to be used. Captain Lisa Martinez sat behind Jake. She was the best pilot in the human fleet and had fought in the border wars against pirates. She wore her uniform with pride, and scars on her face showed she was not afraid to fight. Jake could feel her anger without looking at her. "You want us to give you our people as slaves," Jake said. "Workers," the Chancellor corrected. "They will work in our mines for 20 years. This is fair payment for breaking our laws. And if we say no, then the prisoners stay in the camps forever, and we will put trade blocks on all human worlds. No human ship will be allowed in Council space." Jake stood very still. Around the table, alien faces watched him with cold eyes. They thought they had won. They thought humans needed them too much to say no. But they were wrong. For years, human scientists had been working in secret. They had been studying alien technology and making it better. They had been building new ships and new weapons. They had been getting ready for this day. "I have something to tell the Council," Jake said in a clear voice. The Chancellor waved one of his hands. "Speak quickly. We have important business to discuss." Jake reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and his voice went to every human ship and base in the galaxy. "This is Ambassador Sullivan. I am speaking to all humans everywhere. The Galactic Council has shown us who they really are. They want us to be their slaves. They want to control us and use us. Today, I say no more." "No," The aliens around the table started to look worried. They had never seen a human talk like this. As of this moment, Earth cuts all ties with the Galactic Council. We leave all treaties. We take back all our people. We owe these aliens nothing. Chancellor. Vex Thule jumped up from his chair. You cannot do this! Humans need the Council! You will die without us! Jake smiled for the first time in months. We will see about that. He pressed another button on his device. All human ships return to Earth space immediately. All human workers leave Council territory. All human bases shut down and come home. The withdrawal starts now. Captain Martinez stood up behind him. Her hand moved to her weapon. Ambassador, we should leave. Jake nodded. He looked around the table one more time at the shocked alien faces. You had your chance to treat us fairly. Now you will learn what the galaxy looks like without humans. He walked toward the door. Behind him, the council chamber exploded in angry voices. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages. Some were demanding that humans be arrested. Others were saying this was impossible. As Jake and Lisa walked down the long hallway, Jake felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. For too long, humans had tried to fit in with species that would never accept them. Now they would show the galaxy what humans could really do. Sir, Lisa said as they reached their ship. Are you sure about this? Jake looked back at the council building one last time. Captain, I have never been more sure of anything in my life. President Ryan Clark stood in the White House war room and watched the big screen. Reports came in from all over the galaxy as human ships started coming home. His face was calm, but inside he felt excited. This day had been planned for 15 years. Sir, we are getting messages from every human base, said Defense Secretary Kate Morrison. She was a tough woman who had served in the military for 20 years. All commanders are following the withdrawal order. Good, Ryan said. How long until everyone is back in Earth space? 6 weeks for the farthest ships, maybe 8 weeks for the mining bases. Dr. Alex Turner looked up from his computer. He was the smartest scientist on Earth and had been working on secret projects for years. Mr. President, the Council is trying to block our communications. They think they can stop us from coordinating. Ryan smiled. Can they? No, sir. We have our own network now, quantum relays that they cannot touch. We have been building it for 10 years. Around the table, other advisors nodded. They had all been part of the secret plan. While humans served in the Council and pretended to be grateful for alien help, Earth had been preparing for independence. General Carl Brooks spoke up. He was in charge of all human military forces. Sir, some alien fleets are moving toward our positions. The Krill Empire has 12 ships heading for the ChaosHFY base. Let them come, Ryan said. Commander Harris is ready for them. On the far side of the galaxy, Commander Nick Harris stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the alien vessels approach. The ChaosHFY base was important because it had rare metal mines that the Council wanted to control. Sir, they are demanding we surrender the base, said his communications officer. Nick was a calm man who never lost his temper. He had fought pirates and smugglers for 15 years. Tell them we are leaving anyway. They can have the empty buildings. They say they want the humans who worked there as prisoners. Tell them no. The Krill ships got closer. Their commander sent another message demanding that all humans stay and work for them. Nick had heard enough. All human ships begin Operation Homecoming, he said into his radio. Around the base, human ships that had been hidden in asteroids suddenly appeared. They were not the old ships the Council knew about. These were new designs with better engines and stronger weapons. The Krill commander was surprised. He had expected to fight a few weak human ships. Instead, he faced 30 modern warships. Nick opened communications with the alien fleet. Krill ships, you are in human space. Leave now, or we will make you leave. The alien commander laughed. Humans do not own this space. The Council gave it to us. The Council can give away what they own. They do not own us. The first Krill ship fired its weapons. The energy beams hit one of Nick's ships but did no damage. The new human shields were much stronger than anything the aliens had seen. Nick did not want to fight, but the aliens had made their choice. All ships, return fire! The human weapons were different too. Instead of simple energy beams, they fired focused plasma that could cut through alien armor like paper. 3 Krill ships exploded in the first minute of fighting. The alien commander tried to retreat, but it was too late. Within 10 minutes, all 12 Krill ships were destroyed or disabled. Back on Earth, reports of the battle came in quickly. In the war room, everyone cheered when they heard the results. "Excellent work," Ryan said. "What about the other bases?" Kate Morrison read from her reports. "Similar results everywhere, sir. The aliens expected us to run away. Instead, we showed them what our new technology can do." Dr. Turner pulled up a star map on the big screen. "Sir, we should talk about the next phase. The Council thinks this is just humans being angry. They do not know we have been planning this for years." Ryan nodded. "Show me the defense grid." The map changed to show Earth and the nearby star systems. Red dots appeared around human space. "These are our new defense platforms. Automated systems, with fusion power and plasma weapons. Nothing gets through without our permission." "When will they be online?" 2 weeks, sir. We have been moving them into position for months. Captain Maria Santos was leading the merchant fleet withdrawal from Council space. She commanded over 500 cargo ships that carried goods between human and alien worlds. The aliens thought humans needed their trade to survive. They were wrong. Maria stood on her ship's bridge and watched the cargo containers being loaded. But these containers were not full of goods for alien worlds. They were full of equipment and supplies for human colonies. "Captain, the Council is offering us double pay to keep trading with them," her first officer reported. "Tell them we are not interested," Maria said. "We have better customers now." "Who?" Maria smiled. "Each other." For years, human colonies had been forced to trade through the Council. Earth could not sell directly to its own people because of alien laws. Now those laws meant nothing. "Set course for the Alpha Centauri colony," Maria ordered. "They need food and medical supplies." As her fleet left Council space, other human merchants were doing the same thing. They were not running away scared. They were going home to build something better. On Earth, President Ryan Clark made a speech to the world. Every human on every planet watched as he explained what was happening. "My fellow humans," he began, "today we took a step that some will call dangerous. We left the Galactic Council and chose to stand on our own. Some people are afraid. They think we cannot survive without alien help. I am here to tell you they are wrong." He paused and looked directly into the camera. "For 30 years, we tried to be good members of the galactic community. We followed their rules. We paid their taxes. We accepted being treated as less than equal. In return, they gave us scraps and told us to be grateful." The president's voice got stronger. "We are not grateful anymore. We are humans. We explored this galaxy with nothing but courage and determination. We built colonies with our own hands. We defended ourselves with our own strength. We do not need their permission to be great." Around the Earth, in space stations and moon bases, humans cheered. On distant colonies, families gathered around screens and felt proud to be human again. "The Council thinks we will come crawling back in a few months," Ryan continued. "They think we are too weak and too stupid to survive alone. Let me tell you what I think. I think they are about to learn that the galaxy needs us much more than we need them." 3 months after humans left the Galactic Council, Admiral Troy Washington sat in his command center and listened to alien radio signals. Earth had built secret listening posts throughout the galaxy to watch what happened after the withdrawal. What he heard made him shake his head in amazement. "Admiral, you need to hear this," said Lieutenant Karen Phillips. She was young, but very good at understanding alien languages. The Krill Empire just declared war on the Vorthon Republic. Troy was not surprised. The Krill and Vorthon had hated each other for hundreds of years. Only human peacekeepers had kept them from fighting. Now there were no human peacekeepers. What started it? Troy asked. Border dispute in the Rigel sector? The same place we stopped them from fighting last year and the year before that. Troy pulled up a star map on his screen. The Rigel sector was right in the middle of the old trade routes. If war broke out there, it would cut off dozens of star systems from the galactic economy. Sir, there is more, Karen said. The Zephyrian Chancellor is asking for emergency talks with other council members. He sounds scared. Play the recording, Chancellor. Vexthul's voice came through the speakers. Troy had heard this voice many times in diplomatic meetings, but now it sounded different. Worried. Fellow council members, we face a crisis we did not expect. The human withdrawal has caused problems. We must address immediately. Trade routes are under attack. Border conflicts are starting again. We need solutions now. Troy smiled. For 30 years, humans had been the galaxy's police force, peacekeepers and problem solvers. The aliens had been happy to let humans do the dangerous work while they sat in comfortable council chambers and made speeches. Dr. Amy Foster walked into the command center carrying a thick folder. She was Earth's best expert on alien cultures and had been studying the council for 20 years. Admiral, I have the economic reports you wanted, she said. How bad is it? Amy opened her folder and pulled out charts and graphs. Worse than we expected. The galactic economy is falling apart. She pointed to a chart showing trade volumes. Look at this. Trade between council worlds is down 60% in just 3 months. Without human shipping companies, most aliens cannot move their goods. Troy studied the numbers. Before the withdrawal, human companies had handled almost 3/4 of all galactic shipping. They were faster, cheaper, and more reliable than alien businesses. What about manufacturing? Troy asked. Even worse? The council planets depended on human factories for basic goods. Food, clothing, tools, electronics. They are running out of everything. Amy pulled out another chart. Here is the biggest problem. The council's computer networks are failing. Humans designed and maintained most of their communication systems. Without us, they cannot coordinate anything. On the other side of the galaxy, the first war in 3 decades was about to begin. Krill Admiral Thaxmore commanded a fleet of 200 warships. He had been waiting for this moment for years. The humans were gone. The council was weak. It was time for the Krill Empire to take what they deserved. All ships, advance on Vorthon. Space, Thaxmore ordered. Show them what real warriors can do. The Krill ships moved forward like a dark cloud. They had not fought a real war in 30 years, but they remembered how. They were born warriors, and they had never forgotten their hatred for the soft, peaceful Vorthon. On the Vorthon home world, President Kelsara received the news with horror. Her people were traders and artists, not fighters. They had given up their military strength years ago because human peacekeepers protected them. How many ships do we have? She asked her generals. 40 defense vessels, General Morthek replied. They are old and not built for war. Can we ask the council for help? We tried. Chancellor Vexthul says the council has no military forces available. All their security ships were provided by humans. Kelsara felt sick. Her people faced destruction, and there was no one to help them. The first battle happened near the planet Zerion. 20 Krill ships attacked a Vorthon trade convoy. The Vorthon ships tried to run, but the Krill were faster and stronger. Within hours, the convoy was destroyed. Thousands of Vorthon civilians died. It was the first of many battles to come. Back on Earth, the news reached Admiral Washington quickly. His listening post picked up distress calls and battle reports from across the galaxy. Sir, it is getting worse, Lieutenant Phillips reported. The Andrex Collective just invaded 3 Terran Federation colonies. The quantum pirates are attacking shipping lanes in the Outer Rim. Even species that were allies are starting to fight each other. Troy was not happy to hear about the violence, but he was not surprised. Any requests for human help? Dozens, sir. The Vorthan president sent a personal message begging for peacekeepers. The Andrex ambassador wants to hire human mercenaries. Even Chancellor Vexthul asked if we would consider limited involvement in the crisis. What did President Clark tell them? That Earth is no longer responsible for galactic security. If they want peace, they need to work for it themselves. Dr. Foster looked up from her reports. Admiral, we are seeing something interesting. Some species are trying to copy human methods. The Zephyrians are attempting to build their own peacekeeping force. How is that working? Not well. They have the ships, but not the experience. Yesterday, a Zephyrian patrol tried to stop a pirate attack. The pirates destroyed them easily. Troy nodded. It took more than ships to keep peace in the galaxy. It took training, experience, and most importantly, the willingness to fight when necessary. Humans had learned these lessons through decades of hard experience. The aliens had let humans do the hard work for so long that they had forgotten how to do it themselves. Sir, there is something else, Amy said. We are getting reports of refugee movements. Millions of aliens are fleeing war zones and heading for safe systems, but there are not enough safe systems anymore. Where are they going? Some are trying to reach human space. They know our defenses are strong. Troy thought about this. Are we letting them in? President Clark is reviewing each case. We are helping civilians who are in real danger, but we are not accepting anyone who supported the Council's anti-human policies. On the screens around the command center, reports continued to come in. More wars starting, more trade routes under attack, more systems falling into chaos. The Galactic Council had kept peace through human strength. Without humans, that peace was breaking apart like a house built on sand. Chancellor Vexthul sat alone in his office and stared at reports of the growing crisis. In 3 months, everything had fallen apart. Wars were starting everywhere. The economy was crashing. Refugees filled the space lanes. He picked up his communication device and tried one more time to contact Earth. Maybe the humans would listen to reason. Maybe they would come back if he offered them better terms. The device beeped, and a human voice answered. This is Earth Communications. State your business. This is Chancellor Vexthul of the Galactic Council. I need to speak with President Clark. The President is not available for calls from Council members. Please, this is urgent. The galaxy is falling apart. We need human help. There was a long pause. Then the human voice spoke again, and it sounded almost amused. Chancellor, 3 months ago you told us that humans would die without the Council. You said we needed you more than you needed us. How is that working out for you? The communication ended. Vexthul sat in the dark and realized that the humans had been right all along. The galaxy did need them more than they needed the galaxy, but now it might be too late to fix the mistake. 6 months after the human withdrawal, Colonel Ben Parker flew his scout ship through what used to be Zephyrian space. His mission was simple: see how bad things had gotten and report back to Earth. What he found was worse than anyone had imagined. The VQ, once proud Zephyrian trade worlds, were dark and empty. Pirates controlled the shipping lanes. Refugees packed into camps on planets that could not feed them. Ancient enemies that had been held apart by human peacekeepers were now killing each other without mercy. Control, this is Scout 7. Ben said into his radio. I am approaching the Kepler station ruins. Copy, Scout 7. What do you see? Ben looked at what was left of the giant space station. 6 months ago, it had been home to 2 million beings from dozens of species. It had been a center of trade and culture, protected by human security forces. Now it was a twisted wreck floating in space. The station is gone, Ben reported. Looks like it was destroyed in battle. I am seeing debris from at least 50 ships. This was a big fight. Any survivors? Negative. Everything is cold and dead. Ben flew his ship through the wreckage and thought about the families who had lived here. The Zephyrian merchants who had sold exotic goods, the Vortan artists who had created beautiful sculptures, the Andrex engineers who had maintained the station's systems, all dead because the Galactic Council had thought they could survive without humans. Back on Earth, Chief Engineer Helen Cruz stood in the main control room of humanity's new defense network. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored screens showing the space around human territory. "Status report," Helen said to her team. "All defense platforms are online and operational," reported Technical Sergeant Mike Torres. "We have complete coverage of human space. Nothing gets in or out without our permission." Helen nodded. The defense network had taken 5 years to build in secret. Automated platforms with fusion reactors and plasma weapons surrounded every human world and space station. Each platform was as powerful as a battleship but did not need a crew. "Ma'am, we have contacts approaching the outer perimeter," said Specialist Jenny Walsh. 30 ships, mixed alien types. They are broadcasting distress signals." "What do they want?" "Refugee convoy from the Altair system. They say the Krill Empire destroyed their worlds and they need sanctuary." Helen pulled up the identification. Data on the ships. Most were civilian transports, but a few were military vessels. "Run background checks on all the ships. I want to know who these people are." Within minutes, the computer system provided detailed reports. Most of the refugees were innocent civilians fleeing the war. But 3 of the military ships belonged to species that had voted to restrict human rights in the Council. "Ma'am, what are your orders?" Jenny asked. "Let the civilian ships through. Direct them to Refugee Station Alpha. But the military ships stay out. Send them a message. Earth remembers who its friends were." As the refugee convoy split up, Helen felt both sad and satisfied. She was sad to see innocent people suffering, but she was satisfied that species who had treated humans badly were now learning the consequences of their choices. On the far side of human space, Admiral Troy Washington received reports from his scout teams. The news got worse every day. "Sir, Colonel Parker is back from the Zephyrian sector," his aide reported. "He says it is a complete disaster. The government has collapsed. Warlords control most of the systems. Billions of people are homeless or dead." Troy looked at the battle. Reports on his desk. The Krill-Vorthan War had spread to include 6 other species. The Andrex Collective had broken apart into fighting factions. Even the peaceful Terran Federation was under attack from pirates and raiders. "What about the Council itself?" Troy asked. "Chancellor Vexthul is dead, killed by his own people when..." They blamed him for the crisis. "The remaining Council members are too busy fighting wars to hold meetings." Troy shook his head. 30 years of peace, destroyed in 6 months. All because the aliens had been too proud to treat humans as equals. Dr. Amy Foster entered the briefing room with her latest intelligence reports. She looked tired and worried. "Admiral, I have the updated casualty numbers," she said. "How bad?" Amy opened her folder with shaking hands. "Conservative estimates say 50 billion beings have died in the conflict so far. The real number is probably much higher." Troy felt sick. He had known that leaving the Council would cause problems, but he had not expected a galactic war. "Amy, do you think we made the right choice?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral, the Council never treated us fairly. They used us and disrespected us for 30 years. But seeing all this death and suffering..." She paused. "I wonder if we could have found another way." Before Troy could answer, Lieutenant Phillips ran into the room. "Sir, urgent message from President Clark. He wants to see you immediately." Troy and Amy rushed to the secure communications room. On the big screen, President Ryan Clark sat at his desk in the White House. He looked older than he had 6 months. "Ego." "Admiral, I have been watching the reports from your scout teams," the president said. "The situation is worse than we planned for." "Yes, sir. The galaxy is tearing itself apart. I am getting pressure from Congress and the public. People are asking if we should intervene to stop the killing." Troy thought carefully before answering. Sir, we could stop some of the fighting. Our technology is better than anything the aliens have. But if we go back to being galactic peacekeepers, nothing will change. They will go back to treating us like servants, the president nodded. That is what I think too. But we cannot just watch billions of beings die. What do you propose, sir? We are going to offer a new choice, not the old council system, but something better. Something where species work together as equals instead of some ruling over others. Amy leaned forward. Sir, do you think any of them will accept that? Most of these species have been enemies for thousands of years. The smart ones will, Ryan said. The ones who survive the current chaos and learn from their mistakes. As for the others, he shrugged. Some people only learn the hard way. On the screen behind the president, advisors moved around with reports and data pads. Troy could see that Earth's government was working hard to plan for the future. Admiral, I want you to prepare a new mission, the president continued. Send teams to contact species that might be interested in a new kind of alliance, not the council system where the strong control the weak, but a real partnership. Which species should we contact first? Start with the ones who treated us fairly when we were in the council. The Vorthan, if any of them are still alive. Some of the smaller species who got pushed around just like we did. Show them that there is an alternative to endless war. Troy saluted. Yes, sir. When do we start? Immediately. But Admiral, make sure our people understand. We are not going back to the old system. We are building something new, something better. As the communication ended, Troy felt a mix of hope and worry. Humanity had the power to stop the galactic wars and bring peace again. But could they do it without falling back into the same trap that had led them to leave the council in the first place? Outside the window of his command center, Troy could see human ships patrolling the borders of human space. They were strong and well-equipped, ready to defend their territory from any threat. But strength alone would not be enough to fix the galaxy. It would take wisdom, patience, and the ability to learn from past mistakes. Troy hoped that humanity was ready for that challenge. The future of billions of beings might depend on it.